Coming to you from the mountains and the plain, the only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
And my name is Joe Otto. Woo!
Sorry we're a little late. I had some technical difficulties. Amazing, right as we start talking about big tech and Dominion and everything. I wake up this morning, set my computer, do an update overnight, and my computer told me that the update was crashed and it ruined everything, so my computer went back to square one, so I had to figure out how to log into all my damn accounts that I use. So it was a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. The text message should be going out now. If you didn't get it, you should be getting it shortly. Well, if you're watching this and you didn't get it yet, it's irrelevant. But we're gonna give the dog. We're gonna give the dog another day. Since yesterday we were gonna talk about one topic, and Joe decided he wanted to talk about this, so we're gonna do this again today. We're gonna talk about Dominion, talk about some of the more stuff that's come out. Dr. Shiva, a Senate candidate who ran as the Republican Senate candidate in Massachusetts, he and his team did a whole statistical analysis, and they turned up some really big red flags. So we're going to go over that. We're going to talk about what the internet sleuths, Donald Trump's keyboard warriors over on the Donald.win, what they're uncovering. So we're going to do all that. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment, share on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, and then hit the bell for notifications. And share it as well. We got a lot of traffic on YouTube by people sharing it. Make sure you share this as well. So, Joe.
Yeah, listen, it's really important that you share because, frankly, people need to hear this, right? So you have groups like Now This, which are Facebook driven organizations that are spreading propaganda. Max, I sent you actually a funny meme-ish but real thing of the Secretary of State news conference yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but I just sent it to you in Slack. I don't know.
The chances of me getting to Slack are probably zero right now, just because I have no password saved, and so my whole password saver is gone. So I'm not going to be able to get anything. So send anything you need over to Mr. Producer Josh, and he can put it up on the screen.
All right. So it's kind of funny. It is a Thug Life meme. Look, I want to tell you how serious it's. Very serious, right? But I got to take a deep breath because I've been dealing with this for a couple days now. I've been having conversations with news organizations. Project Veritas I talked to last night. Those guys, by the way, are pretty amazing people, very brave and doing some great things. And then I've been trying to get this information out to different people. But the effects of what is happening in our country, it's the voter fraud is millions, like 8 million, 10 million, 15 million. It's a big number, right? And we know that we're having a positive effect when the weaponization of technology is putting little things on the bottom of it saying that, hey, that the media has already called who the president of the United States is going to be.
Yeah.
That this panel has decided that, mail-in ballots are actually safe, right? I mean, they are weaponizing everything against all the things evil in the world are weaponizing against us as people. And so as I go through this process, I like to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to tell you that this is meant as kind of a relief. It is a funny meme. I sent it over to Josh. You should have it now. Do you have it?
Wait. Does it have music in it?
Yeah.
We can't play it. You cannot play things with copyrighted music. If you know the words to the song, we can't play it. So not even worth leading up to it. We can't play anything that has copyrighted music. We can't get taken down over this.
Can't we? Okay, but can't we actually play it and then have a fair use?
No, because we're not. It's not fair use. We can't play it. So let's just get off of that because we can't play it. We're not getting taken down because it has a rap song in it. That would be the stupidest way to get taken down.
He actually knows what I'm talking about, at least.
Yeah, I know the meme. It's just we can't be taken down over that. So let's do it, Joe. Let's give the people a 1 to 2 minute kind of brief overview on who Chris Coomer is, what you kind of caught him doing.
His name's not Chris Coomer. It's Eric Coomer.
Eric Coomer. All right. Give a 2 minute synopsis on Eric Coomer, on what he did and what you caught him doing, what you saw, the kinds of things you saw on Facebook, just to give people a recap.
So, a recap. So I was, obviously I'm involved with an organization called FEC United. We're an organization that works inside the community to strengthen the community and give people a voice collectively, right? And FEC stands for Faith, Education, and Commerce. And as a person that is involved in the leadership of this organization, truth be told, I started it. And so I was one of the people that started it. Let's put it that way. So as I was walking through, and we had articles that were written about leadership at FEC by Antifa journalists, right? People that are involved in our revolution, which basically wants to, as Chris Jacks says, he wants to basically kill people in the street, behead people in the street. I mean, I kid you not, that's what he said, right? So as we're going through this process, I started seeing all of these things were written by these activists. They're not journalists, they're activists. And so I just started doing research. Obviously, I'm involved in data and researching to find out Antifa members. I wanted to demask Antifa members in our society that were walking amongst us with the idea that they wanted to behead or harm other Americans. So I got access to a phone call. And inside of this call, there was someone on that call that called themselves Eric. Right. Actually, somebody else called him Eric, and then somebody asked who Eric was, and they said, well, you know, Eric's a Dominion guy. So as we were walking through this process, I didn't think twice about it because I wasn't looking for him. Obviously, I did research on him and found out, okay, this guy works for Dominion Voting Systems. But in that call, the thing that was said was somebody was like, hey, what are we going to do if Trump wins? I mean, you could see the hysteria. And see, the thing with these Antifa guys is that they talk in rhetoric. And so you can get caught up in it, right? I mean, they think they're doing the right thing, and they get caught up in this whole idea, this drama, and it spins around in their head. And so some of the things that I was listening to, I was like, this is crazy stuff. But I can understand that once you actually get pilled, right, and you get into this, it can take over you, right? So I got further down the path, and he says, hey, what was going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And he says, you don't worry about the election. You know, Trump's not going to win the election. I made sure of it. Now, at the time, I thought, this is funny. These guys think that they're Jedi Knights, right? Like, I'm going to will things so that President Trump doesn't win. But I did research on them. I actually was able to uncover other Antifa journalists through this process. And see, there's a lot. They think that they think that people think like them, right? Because the media makes them believe that there's a lot more people that think like them, right? And so they're very bold to a degree where they talk too much, right? And so I put that stuff aside. I put that stuff aside, and at one of the FEC meetings, I said out loud that we're going to come after these Antifa journalists, right? And so they published a piece on it saying that that they're going to attack journalists that attack FEC United. That's not what I said. What I said is I was going to attack activist journalists that write propaganda.
We got to get to the juicy part.
All right, so the juicy part is that then I don't think anything of it. I gather all this information on Eric Coomer. I set it aside. I'm actually at an elk hunt, and I get text messages from a friend, and one of it's an article, and I start reading the article, and and normally I don't read the articles. I get 200 to 300 emails and 200 to 300 texts a day, right? So I usually just peruse it and like, oh, okay. And people get mad at me because I don't respond. But I read it, and Eric Coomer was in it. I was like, Eric Coomer. And it said Dominion Voting Systems. And a light went off inside of me. I was like, I know that name, right? Now, when I first looked at Eric Coomer, I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe he worked for the FBI or worked for, some sort of group. Because as I went through the process, he's got a PhD in nuclear physics, right? Super smart guy. I mean, has background in code, has written some pretty massive code, really smart dudes. I couldn't think to myself that this guy could really be Antifa. And I didn't know that Dominion was so far in different environments across the country. But after reading this article, I went back and started putting two and two together. I started doing more kind of unraveling.
Yeah.
And
then
another friend of mine. Hold on. Stop, Max.
We gotta get to this. Come on.
We are going to get to it, but I'm going to tell it at my pace, not at your pace.
All right.
Right. So you just assume that everyone knows what you know, Max. They don't. So just
stop.
I'm
just saying that the last time we talked about this, we went over by almost an hour. Let's give a condensed version because we have a lot more to talk about today. So give the condensed version.
I'm going to give this version the way I want to give the version. Just be quiet. Let me finish.
Right. Let me know when you're done with the story.
So as I go through this process, I start gathering even more information, and I'm like, look, I need to get access to his Facebook page. So I was able to get access to his Facebook page, which was tied down tighter than an ant's butt, and I didn't break any laws to do it. And I got access to his Facebook page. And as you got into the Facebook page, it was dating back all the way to before President Trump was elected, was the most vile post that you'd ever could imagine from this guy. And in that, the recent posts were even worse, right? Talking about the fact that everyone that works with him has the same ideology, thinks the same way he does. Put up stuff like F the police, F the USA, that are videos of songs that he's just going down the line, writing stuff about President Trump. And I'm like, this is the guy responsible for security and strategy at Dominion Voting Systems. And then I found out how many states they're in. Then I started doing research of each one of the RFPs or processes or articles that were written about Dominion Voting Systems all over the country. And every single state had Eric Coomer's signature on it. In other words, he's involved in every transaction across the nation in all of these swing states. So then I start putting all that together, and then I start pulling up lawsuits, and he's the guy that's the expert witness in these lawsuits, one in Georgia. Then we start looking at the irregularities and the fact that they did an update in the middle of the election this year and the issues that they had in Georgia, and saying that they did an update in the middle. Like, so in the middle, they're connected to the internet. So these machines are connected to the internet. So then I started doing research on code, and I started doing research on, what he's capable of. And then I started looking at his other profiles on Reddit and on all of these different platforms. And I start putting all of his hidden email addresses together, because obviously he thinks he's untouchable, right? Then I found out he's an owner, right? He's a major shareholder in Dominion Voting Systems. Then I found out he owns the patents that they're using in these machines. Then I start reading more about what he does in the RFP, and I put it all together, and I'm like, this guy hates Trump. He hates everything about people who believe in Trump, and he actually has his finger on the scale of our country. So then we put out this entire deal. I started reaching out to the DOJ and different other places, talking about Eric Coomer, Dr. Eric Coomer, and who he is. And I provided all that information. And frankly, I'm not going to tell you any more about what has gone on or where we're at with this, but I will tell you that as the more information I'm putting out there, and that we're putting out there, not just me, but others are putting out there, the more wide open this is. And now we have whistleblowers inside of Dominion Voting Systems that are coming forward, right? We have people that are coming up with different levels of fraud that happened in all these swing states, and that put together with the Benford law and all the other things that were done on a statistical to prove fraud. It's all coming together where no court could 100% are saying that Dominion is the fruit of the poison tree, but they're also working with other people. If you trace Eric Coomer to the people that he owns, that he actually owns patents with, those people are actually working in other companies that do elections, and they're all tied back to people on the Democrat side, like Feinstein's husband and chief of staff, and Harry Reid, and Pelosi. I can go down the line with how corrupt this entire system is, but there's no way that this isn't a smoking gun. And the things that we were able to provide is behind a wall that no one can see. And he's walking out there talking about being nonpartisan, right? But he's not nonpartisan. The guy's a nutball, and he's talking about being a nutball in private, while in public, he's saying that he has election integrity, which he doesn't, right? So that brings you up to speed with what we talked about, the breaking news that we had on Monday. And frankly, we're at a place now where, Max, it's pretty crazy what's happening right now. It's pretty crazy. It's really crazy. Did Max freeze up?
No, am I allowed to talk? I'm just curious.
You're allowed to talk now.
So in case anyone's just coming in now, brief 30-second synopsis. Joe was on an Antifa call, heard a guy named Eric Coomer promise other Antifa people that he's made sure that Trump can't win. Put two and two together. Turns out Eric Coomer is an executive at Dominion Voting Systems. He's a huge lefty, anti-Trump, pro-Antifa, as left as it can get. So the big question is, was that true what he was saying to the Antifa people? Did he actually act on that obviously clear bias? Or, as he would probably claim, is he just trying to act big? That's the big takeaway. But we've had more news come in over the past couple days, and Rudy Giuliani was actually on Steve Bannon's show today, and I believe I sent that over to you, Mr. Producer. I think it's cut 1. Let's go ahead, and if it's not cut 1, play the cut. It should be Rudy Giuliani on Steve Bannon's show. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
And that's a combination. Our next guest is going to be Dave Coleman from, I think, the Great Lakes. He's one of these public interest research institutions. This lawsuit is a combination of what Thor was working on in Coleman. Is that correct, in Michigan?
Correct, and they both have superior information. Thor has the part of it with the government insiders who basically are turning, let's call it state's evidence. They are Democrats who are testifying against the Democratic effort because they were so disgusted. That's basically Thor's people. Coleman has the community people, and he's got the Dominion people. And they were the ones who were the actual, not the poll watchers, the observers, who were excluded, who were lied to, but two of whom stayed behind after all the Republicans had been left out. And they're the ones who got the evidence on the 100,000 votes coming in. And they have some photographs also. You put those two together, and you've got some very, very powerful evidence that room at the Cobb Center, I think it was a complete, let's make up the votes room. How much do we have to make up, and let's get there?
So the big news today is that the Trump campaign, Trump's legal team, now has whistleblowers from Dominion coming forward. And they're saying that they will release what those whistleblowers are telling them. Having an inside look into Dominion voting systems will be able to prove what we suspect, right? Because right now we have Eric Coomer, head of their security, right? He does other things, but he
has his fingerprint, Max, on everything. I mean, his fingers are on every single state. It's almost as if he wants to make sure it goes his way, right? And they're standing up this guy that has a PhD in nuclear physics, right? They're standing him up. He printed the Antifa manifesto on his Facebook page on June, I think, 2nd. I mean, don't hold me to that, right? So this is a guy that's dangerous, and they're propping him up. He's involved in everything. And now people from Dominion Voting Systems are coming forward saying, yes, people in our company are corrupt. They think the same way. And frankly, it's scary and it's disgusting what's been able to happen. That's in essence.
So that is kind of the issue, right? It's whether or not the voting systems were hacked or whether or not these were manipulations internally. Because we know from what we talked about with Georgia is that Georgia polling systems bought by Dominion went down on election day because there was a software update that they attempted to push the night before. So they were pushing software updates to these machines. These machines are not supposed to be connected to the internet, right?
They are all connected to the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they are. But that's like a huge red flag. If you can connect it to the internet, it can be hacked. The question is, was it hacked? Or is this a feature and not a bug? People keep saying glitches. Listen, they're not glitches. These are mega companies. They're supposed to war game this out. They're supposed to stress test these machines. You're not supposed to have glitches. But when the glitches seem to follow last-minute software updates, that's when you start asking, is this a glitch? Is this a feature or a bug? It's starting to look more and more like it's a feature and not a bug. So we have more. We have this from Dr. And this is the interesting thing, Joe. On the show, we talked about Benford's law, the idea of the curve, which is this idea that people think numbers in large data sequences are, they just occur at an equal rate. But the statistical analysis actually shows that when you have a large enough data set, each individual data point, each individual entry, as long as it follows the rules of the law, which is that between all the different data entries, there's a large range from low to high. Benford's law states that the first digit of the number in a large data set will 30% of the time roughly be the number 1.
Right.
And then as you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 9, it becomes less probable, less frequent for that number to appear as the first integer of an entry into a large data set. So what we did, and what many other people did, is we applied Benford's law to what the returns, what we're seeing out of Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia. And just like a forensic accountant, it doesn't prove fraud, but it shows you that something is up deserving of another look. Right. And then as we're looking into Dominion, is Dominion responsible for what some of these changes? Because we didn't just see ballot dumps in the middle of the night. We also saw votes flipping and votes switching. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, the people accidentally entered the wrong total for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, and they had to edit it and switch it out. Mr. Producer, go ahead and put up my screen. This is a post that's gone viral over on the Donald.win. Great website if you haven't already seen it. These are the keyboard warriors, Trump's keyboard warriors, going through all of the data and trying to make sense of it all. So they have compiled all of the actual real-time reports from all the states. So anyone doesn't know, the media, the way the media is able to call an election is they're getting the same stream of data, right? It's either coming directly from the states or it's coming from an intermediary. So you can access the data that the media is getting. It's not secret. It's not proprietary. It's also available on most government websites as well. So what they did on the Donald is they went through all of this and they actually compiled how many votes ended up being switched over the course of the whole night and how many votes were lost. And the way they define is a switch vote are votes that are taken from Trump and given to Biden, and a lost vote are votes that just appeared from the counting from both candidates, meaning if they gave it from one to the other, that's a switch. If it just disappears from the count, it's lost.
And they have a chart that there it is.
Yeah. So when you look at this, you see that in Pennsylvania, when you look across the whole night, 220,883 votes were switched. And that's not all at once. That's combined. They used to be for Trump, and over the course of the night, they said, oh, no, those shouldn't go to Trump. Those should go to Biden. Switched. Lost. Over 941,000 votes were lost, meaning at one point, the tally actually showed it, and then they were taken off. Now, those lost votes could have been added later. We don't know. But that's the number of votes that appeared 1 second, and then they were totally gone the next. So in Pennsylvania, you see a huge number of votes were switched or lost. New Jersey, not as many. Florida, not as many. Michigan, pretty significant amount. 20,000 lost, 21,000 switched. In New York, another pretty significant amount, 600,000 lost, 18,000 switched. You start looking at Georgia, 17,000 votes were switched. 33,000 were lost over the course of the whole night in this tally. You go down the line, and it's just incredible. It's incredible just how many Dominion voting systems were used in states that over the course of the whole night just reported that votes had just, sorry, we didn't mean to give these votes for Trump. They actually belonged to Joe Biden. Or, hey, we accidentally told you that this vote should be out of the tally, but we made a mistake. The real number is a little bit smaller. Now, the question is, was that done by hand? Was that done by hand, or was that done through an algorithm? And that is where the fear in Dominion voting systems comes in, because it is not hard to embed an algorithm to switch votes. Now, were they so sloppy that they didn't cover the track so we can see it? That's the big question.
Yeah, so we so somebody said they sent me an email on something, so I'm just checking it out. But I think I already have that case, but I'll check it out in a minute. Max, I want to address this, guys. Max and I have known each other for a long time, so when we get tense with each other, it's normal. We're like brothers that fight. We actually know each other really well, right? So he knows what bothers me, so he typically tries to push on those buttons all the time.
Every now and then there's button pushing.
So just so you know, it does get intense for a minute, just because I want to explain things probably maybe too minutely, and he can actually do what he just did, which is in 30 seconds tell what I take 10 minutes to do. So if you're wondering if we're mad at each other, we're definitely not mad at each other.
No.
And we go through this, and this is an intense time for both of us because of some of the other stuff that we're doing with the information that we're collecting. And so it's very tense for us, right? It's tense for our families. It's tense. Max just had a baby. So don't think that, But
I don't get death threats.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I don't get any death threats. We've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
No one.
Don't ask for them, Max. Don't ask for them. Yeah. So my
Gotta
problem
ask for
is that I'm everywhere, right? So I'm involved in a lot of different things. FEC United being one of them. UADF, United American Defense Force, with Tig Tigan. That's why he's always here. So I just want you to know that. So don't worry about Max and I. Somebody said it was getting weird between us because we're mad at each other. We're not, right? We have a lot going on at the same time. And then Talk says, I'm mad at both of you. That's good. Thank you. And then Annie had to, okay, man, just be quiet, all of you. Yeah. Hashtag quiet.
Hashtag Joe Crush.
Joke. Please don't start it early on in the deal, please.
So I'm looking at this. Put up my screen again. I'm looking through this. Minnesota, votes lost, 195,650. Virginia, this was something that actually was very noticeable. In Virginia, they took off over the course of the night. Hundreds of thousands of votes at a time.
Nearly 800,000.
789,000 votes lost that were added to the tally and then removed. Now, again,
and he would have won.
They could have been added slower at a later pace. Maybe they didn't mean to push them all at once. I don't know. I'm just saying that that's the number of votes that had appeared at one point and then they disappeared in the next. And the reason we can see that is because that's what's being reported to all the news networks. It's not proprietary. It's not secret. All different websites can access it as long as they take the time to do so in advance. So this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. And then you go and look at someone like Dr. Shiva, who is an MIT PhD. He ran for the Senate in Massachusetts. He lost. But he did build a team to look at these kind of anomalies. And so I highly recommend, he has like a longer video where they explain the math, the statistics, the science to it. But we do have a brief clip that's like the overall top findings of what he and his team found. So let's go ahead and play that real quick. That's cut 2.
So let's jump right into Michigan. I know everyone's waiting for this. I hope you enjoy this, and we'll have Q&A. Jen will help us with that. So in Michigan, there's around 86 counties. And what was analyzed here was a top 4 counties were analyzed: Oakland County, Macomb County, Kent County, and Wayne County. By the way, all the data we're looking at, there's 2 sets of data: the early voting data and then the voting data on election day. In some cases in Kent County and Wayne County, we combined them. But so there's 2 sets of data. So let's proceed. Now, the executive summary, this is what you're going to get out of this. So if you need to leave right now and you got to run off to do something, the conclusion of this, which we like to present up front, is that there are in the 3 major counties that were analyzed out of the 4, Trump's margin was reduced by a minimum of 138,000 votes. I'll repeat that. President Trump's margin was reduced by a minimum of 138,000 votes. So what that means is Trump's vote total was decreased by 69,000, and Biden's vote total was increased by 69,000. In short, 69,000 votes were transferred from Trump to Biden in these counties, and they varied across those counties, but a total of 69 counties. The other piece is this quote unquote transfer was done by a computer algorithm that linearly transferred. What that means, it transferred votes in a proportional basis. For example, the more votes got transferred from Trump to Biden, interestingly enough, as you went to precincts that increased in Republicanism, which means there were more Republicans in that precinct. So basically, and we'll show you, so the vote transfer really occurs more in Republican-based precincts and less in non-Republican-based precincts.
Hit the share button, people.
So that is
hit the share button.
That is the general findings. And what's really interesting about that is they go through, and I'll see if I can find the actual graph where they show how it's linear. When he mentions that his team identified that votes were switched from Trump to Biden in Republican districts, that might seem strange. But the reason you do that is you have to have a significant number of Trump votes to switch. So in at least from the Dominion side, the tech side, if you were to go into one of those 59 precincts in Philadelphia where, like we talked about in 2012, Mitt Romney got 0 votes, in those scenarios where Donald Trump gets 0 votes in Philadelphia, an algorithm cannot switch a vote from Trump to Biden because there aren't enough to switch. What they found was that this phenomenon, and they basically say that it's their professional opinion. Again, guy has a PhD from MIT. His professional opinion is that this was algorithmically based and that it was happening in Trump counties. And the reason that I would suspect The reason to do it that way is because it's much easier to explain it. Oh, well, the reason that Donald Trump lost votes in this solidly red county is because he pissed off suburban women. How many times have we heard that, right? How many times have we heard that over months and months and months, that Trump is losing suburban women? Turns out white women actually went to Trump again this time. The majority of white women in this country voted for Donald Trump. So the narrative that suburban white women were magically turning on him ended up being false. But they went into this presuming that would be true. So they had to run, if this is, now a caveat, if this is what happened with Dominion voting system, which again, that expert suggests, they had to run it in Republican districts because they had to have enough Republican votes to switch. Old saying, you cannot draw water from a rock. If Donald Trump doesn't have enough votes to switch, you can't run the program. And what he suggested is that it was linear, which means it's directly proportional, 1-to-1. As Donald Trump would go up in his vote count, all of a sudden it would just siphon off a couple and switch it to Joe Biden. So we wanted to present that. Again, Dr. Shiva, he has a full, if you want to watch it on YouTube, we didn't want to share the whole thing, but if you can watch it on YouTube, they go through their
and he's
work,
very smart, and he does it very, very distinctly. So it's called de-randomization models, right? Is what they're actually doing. You can build an algorithm. And by the way, the guy that knows nuclear physics and that actually is coding is probably the one of the most dangerous people in the world. That's why I know, if you look at everything, that Eric is involved, right? I'm not guessing that he's involved, right? I know he's involved in this. And that's why, as he starts talking about things, as we start hearing about Eric Coomer in the media, he's hiding right now. He's hiding. Right now, he is hiding out there. He knows what I'm saying, and he knows what other people are saying about Dominion. He is literally scared for his life, because what we're talking about, people, is sedition. We are talking about sedition. We are talking about people going to prison for the rest of their lives or being sentenced to death. When you interfere with the country's election, when you put your finger on the scale of the voting of the people, the American voice, you are subject to being put to death. I want you to know how big this is. And you want to know why people at Dominion are turning against Dominion? They don't want any part of it. They don't want any part of it. They do not want to be associated with something that down the road is going to become one of the biggest stories ever to hit our newspapers, to hit our history books. And that is a fraud against the American people. A fraud that actually turns our country into a communist or socialist society. That's what they're doing by stealing your vote. They're diluting your ability to have a voice. I don't know how you feel about that, but I can tell you right now, I won't stand for it. I won't stand for it. We are the army of one. We are Americans. On this Veterans Day, by the way, we should probably mention that.
Yes, it is Veterans Day. And unlike Memorial Day, which is a solemn holiday where you remember people who have fallen, you can say Happy Veterans Day, because that is to honor veterans who are alive and with us and who served. So we can say Happy Veterans Day. Quick little aside, Veterans Day is 11/11. And the reason for that is when World War I ended. On the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour is when World War I ended. So that is why Veterans Day is on 11/11. Little bit of trivia. We do have a caller who wants to ask whether this would all be enough. We have Kevin on the line. Kevin, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? Just got a couple quick points. I want your guys' opinion.
Okay.
I feel like Donald Trump's got too many sycophants. You feel like on the left side, Democrats, liberals, they aren't afraid to criticize their politicians. They try to hold them to a certain standard, get something out of them. Feels like with Trump supporters, they're just blind support. Whatever he does is right. They trust the plan, blah, blah, blah. He should have broken up Google. That's a monopoly. Yeah. He allowed millions of his supporters to get banned off YouTube, banned off Twitter, banned off Facebook. He did nothing except monitor the situation. And people just keep making excuses.
Well, that's not
it's the
entirely
Democrats.
True.
All right, so let's back.
The Justice Department is suing Google for monopolistic practices. So the Justice Department actually has taken Google to court with the goal of at least potentially breaking them up. So it's not entirely accurate to say that he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, it is going to happen, actually. But I'm going to tell you, Kevin, you have to be patient, right? Because you have to understand that the process is slow. Justice is very slow in this country, and it's very expensive, right? And one misstep by Barr specifically could cause the entire thing to come crumbling down, because it looks like he's just doing the bidding of Trump. So we have to have a very separate way of actually examining all of the evidence. And that's what you're seeing right now. And frankly, is it too slow for me? It is too slow for me. Do I think that some people blindly just follow parties because they want to follow parties? Yes. And do I think the left is really good at attacking and eating their own? Yes, I do. And we are too on the conservative side. But I do want you to know that as you start seeing about him pick things apart, the American people have to have enough outrage that it rises to a level that even if it's not popular amongst the GOP, even if it's not popular amongst Republicans, that he has the political cover in order to get things across the finish line because of how slow justice really is in this country. Right. So I will tell you that I think you're right that he could have shut down Facebook. I just don't think that he had the cover in order to get it done, nor Google. So once we had enough evidence, then they can actually, it's called seeding a lawsuit. You have to seed the lawsuit. Like we're seeding the lawsuit against Facebook right now. We know that they're blocking us. We know that they're doing things against us, right? We know that they're actually doing things to stop our voice from getting out there. And so we're connecting with other organizations and we're seeding a lawsuit. And that's, frankly, that's just a part of having a democratic republic, and it's a process that we have to follow, right?
And I'll just say, one more point.
You look at
is if you look at what Barr said this week, and he gave the DOJ permission, he basically gave them the green light to investigate substantial allegations of fraud. And what you saw was the people in charge of the DOJ's elections fraud division up and quit.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to investigate substantial. He added that caveat, substantial fraud. And the people running that part of the DOJ up and quit and said, no, we're not going to do that. So it on the one hand, I agree with you. Things moved way too slowly. And if Donald Trump ultimately loses, that will be one of the biggest complaints of his administration, is that he didn't get enough done if he loses. Still isn't necessarily the case, but if he loses, true. But Ms. Producer, put up my screen because I just mentioned this. This is a lawsuit that was just filed at the end of October. And it takes time to build antitrust cases against tech monopolies, right? Google is a big company. You have to cross your T's, dot your I's.
100%.
They are using the same kind of antitrust kind of strategy that they used to go after AT&T in the 70s and 80s. What they used to go after Microsoft, right? Yeah. So this is the same kind of thing that they're doing. It does take time, and I do disagree on the sycophant part. There are plenty of people that disagree with Trump. I disagree with Trump on some things. The difference is I'm not a concern troll. And the difference between having differences and being a concern troll is a concern troll is trying to amplify those differences. Listen, it was Ronald Reagan who said you can disagree with someone 20% of the time. It doesn't make you their enemy. It makes you 80% their friend, right? So when you focus on the problems you have, which people can go, you can go. I've written on the Federalist tons of times about how I disagree with Donald Trump's gun policies. I thought he should have been better with the Second Amendment. But it doesn't mean that I go and attack him and try and tear him down for it. So that's the difference. It's not blind loyalty, but it's keeping your eye on the ball long enough to make sure that we can push forward the agenda without concern trolling and dragging it down. Give you one final thought, and then we'll.
I hear you guys. It's my it's Poland's Independence Day. As a Polish American, I just got to give a shout out to Poland. They're really trying to hang in there. They got an entire EU coming down on them for not taking in migrants. You even heard Joe Biden criticize Poland, saying, "Oh, their democracy's fading and this and that." They're trying to hang in there. They banned abortion. They're following God's rule. They're doing everything right, and I feel like they're going to come down on them hard. The EU, all the world leaders, Biden's going to start talking bad about them. So I wish you guys to keep a prayer to Poland to hang in there, but take it easy.
Hey, absolutely. God bless you, Kevin. God bless you.
So this is the map I love to put up when you want to look at terror attacks in Europe. I don't know when this map is dated, but you talk about bringing in migrants into Poland. Don't want to scroll too much. I love this map because you see all of the major terrorist attacks in Europe, and they all miraculously seem to stop at the Polish border. It makes you wonder why. Now, I just want to real quick protect us in case there are fact checkers out there. hacking a voting system is not necessarily a death penalty offense, but Donald Trump did sign legislation into law this year to increase the penalties for hacking a voting system. Now, if you can prove that someone hacked a voting system with the help of an enemy of the United States, then 18 U.S.C. Section 2381 would come into effect, and that is treason. And that is treason. That is a death penalty offense. If you give aid and comfort to the enemy by manipulating our vote counts, then yes, that is absolutely a death penalty
And
offense.
what if Biden knew about it? Right? I mean, he said it. He spoke it. Right?
Yeah.
What if he knew about it? What if Biden actually knew about it?
Well,
Yeah.
give me a second. I'll pull up a video. Didn't know we were going to go down that road, but we can pull up a video for it.
Rabbit hole, where are you?
There's a video. There's a video for everything, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Mr. Producer a link. Can I do that, Mr. Producer? Is that okay? A link. It's a Facebook video. It's on our channel. So if you can play it, here's a link. So if
Guys,
you
and
remember,
while he's doing this, you got to share. We need to break Facebook's back when it comes to what they're doing against us, right? And as we rise in the ranks on the podcast, they should not be able to put their finger any more on the election than they are on the information that we're providing, right? And you could say, oh, I have people on my page that they can't agree with it. Okay, they don't agree with it. They don't agree. Who cares if they don't agree with it? We don't care if they agree with it. We care that we actually become thought leadership, that we actually talk about fact, right? So you have an obligation to share it. You have an obligation to share it because it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then I don't know why you're listening. But if it makes sense, at least in part, even if you disagree with part of what we're saying, it gives you a little bit of context to everything that's happening in the country. So share it.
So let me set up this video. This is from the first presidential debate when Donald Trump may or may not have been COVID positive. I mean, we haven't really talked about that. The angry shouting over each other. At that point, Donald Trump might have been COVID positive and not known it. And you talk about how COVID gives you foggy brain. But there was a moment of clarity in all of that where Joe Biden looks guilty as hell. And it's the moment that Donald Trump talks about Philadelphia election corruption. And what he's referencing are a number of indictments and convictions that actually came down. We talked about them on the show. Philadelphia election officials who were arrested, charged, and convicted of stuffing the ballot box. Listen to Donald Trump talk about Philadelphia manipulating elections, and in particular, watch Joe Biden's face, because in my opinion, he looks guilty as hell. There's so many points in the debates where Joe Biden would say, that's not true, that's not true. And when Donald Trump actually hit home and struck a chord, Joe Biden got very different. He got very quiet, and he looks down. He just looks guilty as hell. So, Mr. Producer, let's go ahead and play that video link that I sent you.
As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that mean,
from a common sense,
does that mean you're
I'll tell you what it means. It means you have a fraudulent election.
Nostradamus Trump. Donald Nostradamus Trump. And if you watch Joe Biden's face, looking down, looking at someone in the audience, he looks guilty as hell in that clip. It's really interesting playing that back now. We're not even talking anymore about tens of thousands of ballots flipping. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of ballots flipping. And as we covered with that analysis from Dr. Shiva, I'm not even going to pronounce his last name because I'll get it wrong. He goes by Dr. Shiva. Check him out, showing that in just those 4 counties in Michigan, they saw at least 69,000, I think it was 69,000 votes go away from Trump, and then the same number go to Biden. And it had to be done by an algorithm because you can't just do it that sneakily.
Yep. I mean,
so
guys, listen, he talked about it, what's happening, and it happened. I think President Trump is very, very smart, right? And he makes sure that he is the one that has the most information in the room when he says something. And you could say that, oh, you know, he talks like he doesn't talk very sophisticated. He brings things down to a level that everyone can understand it, right? He just does. And he's very talented at that, right? But now we're at a place, I mean, if we're really talking about it, he knew what was going to happen. He had people out there that were actually involved in this. And my guess is that we also had people that were in there that were collecting data and information for the president in some areas that is definitely going to seed those lawsuits that he's going through right now. I mean, he's playing a game to protect the entire country against what is a coup against the American people. That's what this is. I mean, it's treason.
So we do have a caller on the line. He's been patiently waiting. Zach wants to talk about black hat hackers, something that's been coming up a lot lately. We do have Zach on the line. Zach, how's it going?
What's up, Zach?
Hey. This is my gut hunch, just like your Coomer gut hunch.
Yeah.
Did you watch that video that I sent you, Max, the other day?
I haven't.
That YouTube video?
I haven't been sleeping enough. I'll watch it. I'm sorry. I've just newborn, all this. I haven't.
I get it.
What was in it?
Why didn't you send it to me?
Right
I feel like kind of my Zach.
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did?
If you have something you want to send to Joe Otto at conservative-daily.com. He's happy to
It's a 40.
take any of.
Sorry, go ahead, Max. My bad.
No, just letting everyone know Joe's email address if they want to send him cool stuff.
You're such.
So what the video says, it's two guys. The last guy's name is Blaze. One of them, I think it's David Blaze, and there's another guy in that YouTube video. You'll have to post it if you think it's credible or not. But they talk about how for their Black Hat Hacker Convention in 2018, they got their hands on some voting machines that they were practicing hacking. And the guy says in the YouTube video that he had Democrats from California and New York come and watch them hack these voting roll machines and exploit them, and then they created HR1 after that. And I know I've been saying it for the last couple of days, but I'd be really curious to see an episode on what the changes were to voting in HR1 that the Democrats did. You're better at reading the
HR1 didn't get signed into law, did it? I don't think HR1 ever got signed into law. It passed the House.
So it was just
It never. Okay. It's just it's kind of dead on arrival. The Senate never took it up. Now, whether or not they snuck any of that into like an appropriations bill, I don't know. But the bill itself, that's one of the ones they complain about being stuck on Mitch McConnell's desk, and it's full of a lot of ridiculous stuff. I mean, they want to make it so easy to vote. They basically want to take everything we saw here, where you can vote from your couch, and just kind of expand it. They want to crack down on PACs while giving unions the ability to raise money and have political advocacy. Really, really messy stuff. But unless they slipped it in, I know that they were trying to put some of it into the HEROES Act, which again also didn't pass. It's amazing how they're demanding the HEROES Act be passed, but a lot of the things in the HEROES Act relate to elections, and the election's over. So I don't think HR1 has passed, but it is on the top of their list of what they want to do under a supposed Biden presidency. Yeah.
And it goes back to Joe saying, did they know about it the whole time? Because if they went to that Black Hat convention and watched them hack everything, and now they want to change the whole way that we do voting for the United States.
They're trying it now. They just did a popular vote in Colorado. I mean, they just did a popular vote to have a pact with California to give their votes to the popular vote. I think that we are going to have to eliminate the Democrat Party and turn not eliminate like that, but eliminate the Democrat Party.
Not like
violently. Yeah, not like violently, but get rid of the Democrat Party in Colorado. Bring it back from this inherent blue to red, which I think it is red. But Dominion is all over Colorado except for 2 counties, right? And I think Dominion voting systems and other systems like it, like no vote, KNOW vote, or K elections.
There's a couple different. There's a couple. It's like EENS. There's a couple different.
But they're all run by people that are actually connected to Pelosi Clinton Foundation. I mean, it's scary, people. It's scary how they've literally infected our country, and we've let it happen. They have built a spiderweb. They have built the Illuminati of elections. They are manipulating our society into thinking that this is what normal people think, right? That's what they've done. And frankly, now that we're waking up to it, now that we know that media is weaponized, I mean, nobody in this country can deny that Facebook, Google, and all these companies have weaponized our society. Nobody can deny that the media is left-leaning and that they are Antifa and left-loony activists. They're not journalists anymore. They're activists, right? Nobody can deny it. Try. Tell me. Somebody call up 888-441-1121 and do that. But Zach, what do you think?
I think the Democrat Party needs to kick out all the corruption. I mean, the Republican Party, you can see right now as you look at the two parties and how they're kind of unfolding, the Republican Party is very much about cleaning out the swamp and not enabling the swamp to just take over America like they've done since I've been born. And the Democrat Party is just, now they're the party of the global takeover. I mean, all they're backing is all these globalists, and the Democrats just, they're not fighting back and saying, this is not what we want. You guys are actually ridiculous, because they want to be Trump so bad that they're embracing these super radical new branch that they've pretty much just stemmed out of the old blue dog Democrats and more of your centrist Democrats, I guess, nowadays compared to the progressives. But their party's been hijacked, and nobody's taking it back.
100%.
And it's very scary to watch.
100%.
I mean, you watch these progressives, they're like, we need to make these lists and hunt down these Trump supporters. Where are these Democrats that are normal, that are like, yo, you guys are getting a little bit hypey over there. You need to chill out. Like, they're not a socialist country or a dictatorship, and that does not happen in America. They're not. They're just letting it happen.
But Zach, if you come at us, we're not going to ask questions. We're not going to play defense or play offense. I mean, I simply said it. And Max is like, I'm kind of feeling neglected over here. I don't get any death threats. It's not very nice. Like, why can't I have some of those, Joe? And frankly,
it's not fun.
It's not fun. But I tell my family, right? And yeah, so I've had to hype up security and do all that stuff. But if you come down, if you come at me, right? God help you, because
CNN.
he's the only one that can, right?
Starting their list writing.
Yeah, here you go.
CNN publishing the list of GOP senators.
Yeah.
List of GOP senators who
Would you
haven't
have done?
congratulated Biden.
What's that, Zach?
Would you have done that 10 years ago, Joe? Like the old Republicans? Because I think that's totally changed. That's what Trump changed about the Republican Party that people really liked, was the complacency of just accepting things the way they were. Like, this is America, and we are the home breeding land of innovation. So you're telling me that we just have to accept the way that politics has always been, and this is just how it always will be? The younger generation doesn't accept that, and that's why you see even them rallying against Biden as the president right now. Antifa does not like Biden, and they're not on board with it. Like, that is, it became toxic, the transition in the Democrat Party, versus the Republican is, Trump, you can say, his Twitter is toxic, but as far as his policy and what he's putting in for Americans, it's not toxic. It's for
100%,
everybody.
Zach. 100%.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Well, we gotta let you go because we have a few things that we have to cover before the end of
Hey,
the show.
Zach, thanks,
for the
brother.
call.
I'll watch that. I'll watch that clip too. So, hey, thanks for all that you do, and I'll be going back and forth with you on email. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, it's a 45-minute video. Watch the last 15
All right,
if you don't have time for the
49
whole
minutes.
thing.
I'll watch the whole thing.
All right, thanks so much, Zach. So I want to put this up. This is making the rounds on Twitter. Someone allegedly claims to have been able to get into Dominion voting systems to actually observe the traffic on at least one of these machines. And what you're seeing here is basically all the different things. It's not supposed to be connected to the internet, remember. It's supposed to have a subnet where it's only connected to other machines. It can't connect to anything outside of the secure sub-network. But what you're seeing here is that it's that big glaring one right here. Internet. Beyond all the other things like URLs, you got blacklisted URLs, blacklisted IP, malicious IPs, lots of different things are talking to this one machine, and the machine's talking to it. So this idea that these Dominion voting machines, if this is accurate, which again cannot confirm it, this guy is just he's starting to get a little bit cheeky on Twitter. He feels like he has Dominion's number on this. He's putting up a lot of graphs, but with this one hit me because
he's not
there's
wrong.
so much on here that shouldn't be on here.
He's not wrong, and I'll tell you how he did this. So again, he's looking at individual hits across networks, like the subnets and things like that. And so through this, he's able to identify specifically different devices, and then he can eliminate devices as he adds in to get down and hone down to that one device, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to find...
It's hard to know what all of it is, but you can see that it starts going to... Even if you can't tell what all is in that internet, you can tell that the device at certain periods of time, and I would imagine that the bigger the circle, the more frequent that would be in this chart.
Yes.
That it's connecting to things on the open web, which again, if you connect to the internet, you can be hacked on the internet. But even on the subnet, there's tons of stuff on here. It's connecting to phone numbers, right? I mean, this is insane. So whether it was an external hack or an internal job, these systems are far too vulnerable. We can go ahead and take that off the screen. Far too vulnerable to just assume that they are secure. You know what this reminds me of, Joe? This reminds me of salami slicing. Do you remember? No. Salami slicing. Do you remember that term?
Yeah.
Mr. Producer, put up my screen again. Salami slicing, there's other ways of describing it, but it's basically, think of it this way. It's also called penny shaving. So what this was a very popular scam, hack that started being done in like grocery stores right when they started connecting their cash registers to the internet or to phone lines. And the idea is that you don't steal a lot of money all at once, because you can easily find out. Like if all of a sudden you discover that $1,000 is missing from the drawer, then yes, you're going to be very, very concerned. But just like a thief would if they were working at a supermarket, maybe they take a penny a day. That doesn't seem like a whole lot. A penny a day over 365 days adds up to $3.65, right? But when you start doing it with all of the credit card processors in a supermarket, and you have dozens of them in some cases, depending on how big the supermarket is, and you're taking a penny from each transaction, all of a sudden that starts adding up to a bigger steal. So salami slicing or penny shaving is the idea of you take a little bit, a lot. You take a little bit of something a lot of times rather than steal everything all at once. And as I listen to these experts talking about Dominion, running the stats, and we've seen some big vote flips, right, where it's 100,000, it almost feels like they got sloppy, because they also talked about Macomb County, where they were shaving a little bit at a time. It feels like almost like they got a little sloppy.
No, they didn't get sloppy.
Before we even had the statistical analysis, we saw 100,000 ballots just drop out of Virginia, right? We saw that happen in Wisconsin and Michigan. It almost feels like they got sloppy, like they were a little bit too cocky.
Yeah, no, it's not that at all. It has nothing to do with that. They thought they had enough people in enough places that they could just deny. That's why the media is saying that there's no record and nothing. There's no evidence. As evidence is piling up, they can't stop the evidence fast enough, right? They're trying to plug all the holes. They're like, no, there's no evidence. YouTube, literally today, you should know, has dialed back because they are afraid. Everyone is afraid right now on the left. They're afraid. They have dialed back their putting the little tags on it to say that voting is safe. They've dialed it back. Now, Twitter is still out there trying to maintain face and is blocking people and doing stuff, right? And Facebook is doing the same thing, but they're even dialing it back. Like, Facebook is deathly afraid about what's about to happen. And you can start seeing that there's a shift now happening where the social platforms and people on the left are like, oh crap, we're in trouble. Hold on, wait a minute. Did you get that, Max? Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, don't sing it.
I did not sing it. I just said, hold on, wait a minute. Nobody owns that. But you're starting to see it. You're starting to see that the left is freaked out because they've been uncovered. But they thought they had enough cover. They thought we got big tech, and we've got the media, and we've got people in these places, and we can hush people, we can suppress people. We can get people like AOC out there saying, I predict in the future that people are going to start deleting pictures and posts. I ain't deleting shit. I'm telling you right now. I'm not deleting.
Now we have to do explicit.
Sorry, I had to do it. Sorry, people.
We're literally on minute 59.
I know. Sucks.
You had to just hold it off for one more minute.
Hey, but look, let's look it up. I mean, they changed maybe it's actually in the dictionary or something different right now, Max. It might be.
Maybe it might have changed. We almost made it 60 minutes without.
Look, I'm passionate about this because where else can we go, Max? Where else can we go?
You're right.
There's not another free place in the world, and I don't like cursing at all. But I'm just. Guys, it's that important. We are talking about something that is so important to the future of our country, to future generations.
Yeah. I understand why you did it, but could have just made it 60 more seconds. and we would have made it. Well, we went through a lot today. We went through Dominion voting systems. We talked about what they're starting to uncover. Listen, all of this is proven one way or another if we get into Dominion's code. If we get into their code base and we can able to see, was this internal, was this external, or is this really the way they're trying to claim it, random glitches or unexplainable anomalies, right?
They're not even talking about COVID anymore. They're not even talking about COVID anymore. Yeah. They're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you it's a pandemic. I'm not telling you that it's a farce, but I'm telling you no one's dying. No one's dying.
Well,
hardly anyone are dying. Not many people are dying. More people are dying or flu.
Get taken off the air.
Okay, more people are dying or flu. Okay, let me retract that and not many people are dying. The people that are dying, there's more people dying of that.
Show before you get us taken off the air.
I'm not going to get taken off the air for this. You get taken off the air for this, and then we just actually launch the lawsuit. At that point, we stop the seeding, we launch the lawsuit, we file injunctions, and then we do the things we need to do. I'm done playing, Max. I'm done playing.
I know.
And I'll burn cash at an alarming rate. No, I'm done playing.
It doesn't mean that you deliberately encourage.
I didn't deliberate. Bad. Look, they poked the bear. I didn't poke the bear.
No one
they poked the bear.
No one is dying.
That's not what I meant. I mean, all right, I'll retract it a little bit. Not many people are dying, right? I mean, the number of people dying.
Yeah, you still can't say that either. They're just let's not quantify COVID-19's death rate, because that's just we'll get taken down absolutely immediately. We can't even attempt to quantify. If we go, we're not allowed to tell you people that there are still people on the list of COVID fatalities who shot themselves in the head. We're not allowed to tell you that. We're not allowed to talk about the guy in Florida who was on a roof changing roof shingles, got struck by lightning, died, and they listed as a COVID death. We're not allowed to talk about those things. So if you want to talk about what we're not allowed to talk about, we can talk about what we're not allowed to talk about, but we can't talk about what you want to talk about. Does that make sense?
Right. All right,
we're not allowed to talk about
Not allowed to talk about that stuff. Say fudge. I'm sorry, Carl. I should have said fudge. I apologize.
Did you say the F word too?
I did not. I did not say that. I did not. I said one word, guys. Hashtag no. No Joe. Hashtag no Joe.
Hashtag Joe Crush. Hashtag Joe Crush. Let's get it going.
No, let's not do it.
Yeah. If we can do a final thought without any expletives or without anything that goes against the WHO or the CDC, Joe, give us your final thought as we work down this episode.
So yesterday I went and spoke to a Tea Party event, right? So there's about 100 people there. And one of the things that a couple of the people walked up to me and said was, hey, I just really appreciate you coming here because you give me hope, right? I came here with no hope and I left here with hope, right? Hope is not a strategy, but hope is something that you can actually walk towards, which means that we can start walking towards accountability. And I just want to tell you that if everyone that is listening to this podcast actually takes the time to stand up with courage is more infectious than fear, then we cannot lose. President Trump has stood up for us as a country. It's time that we stand up for him. So there's a couple ways that you can actually do that. Number one, go to WinRed and actually support his ability to uncover this fraud. That means financially giving to the Trump campaign to help him fight against this so that we have fair elections in our country and that nobody has the ability to put their fingers on the scales of your vote. So, hey, God bless you. God bless the United States. And God bless all the veterans in this country who have stood up and fought for everything that we are as a nation. God bless you all.
All right, and Mr. Producer, put up my screen one more time. We're going to close with this as I read out the last bits. You can see here, we got my screen, Mr. Producer. This is our rankings on Apple Podcasts. We are up again, up to 62, ranked 62 yesterday. They pegged us at 65. Today we're 62. We're starting to plateau. We don't want to see that. We want to keep rising. So if you want to help the show get over that hump and get higher up in the rankings, make sure you check out the link in our description to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, as well as giving us a good review.
We have some trolls, by the way, that are giving us bad reviews. so give us some good reviews. I got a couple of them taken down, but hey, give us some good reviews as well if you like us. If you don't, just don't.
So if you have an iPhone, MacBook, super easy. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a good review. You can also find us on Google Play Store, on Spotify. A lot of people watching us or listen to us on Spotify now. Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Podbean. We go live Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Today was a little late because we had some computer problems, but make sure you like and follow our Facebook page, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. If you text FREEDOM to 895. Sorry. Text Freedom to 89517, and you'll receive text alerts when our podcast goes live. You can also, there's a link in our description to join our email newsletter for our call to action alerts. We're also on Parler at Conservative Daily. We'd be happy to follow you back. And there's also a link if you want to help support the channel buying some merch. I think we got all of it out of the way. So again, my name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto.
And remember, everyone, that the fight to take back our country isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.